is Els Ampharinats. It's a 200-year-old festival in a sleepy Spanish town with a very simple premise. At 8 a.m., a group of married men in mock military uniforms stages a full-blown coup d'etat. They storm the town hall, enforce a series of ridiculous laws, and their primary weapons are eggs, flour, and a terrifying number of firecrackers. It's a day of pure, joyous, and utterly baffling anarchy. And the most insane part of this whole story is that it's all for charity. I'm standing in the main square of Ibi, a picturesque, tranquil town in the Spanish countryside. It's early morning, the air is crisp, and it feels wonderfully peaceful.
The sun is out, the water is shimmering, so peaceful.
For a moment, I wonder if I've come to the right place. However, this peace is quickly shattered at precisely 8 a.m.
So nice.
It begins not with a battle, but with a foot race. A group of men in absurd, ill-fitting military costumes sprint from the church to the town hall. They're wearing a bizarre parody of a military uniform, tattered old tailcoats and morning suits, adorned with ridiculous sashes and medals made from bottle caps and plastic toys. My first thought is that I've stumbled upon a very strange wedding party, or perhaps a local theatre group's final rehearsal. The winner of the race is immediately declared the new mayor of the Ampharinats. With their leader chosen, the rest of the group storms the town hall. The actual mayor, by the way, plays along gracefully, handing over his staff of office before wisely getting out of the line of fire for the rest of the day.
True, that was crazy in there.
The Ampharinats brandish wooden batons and read a series of nonsensical proclamations from the balcony, officially taking power under the satirical slogan of New Justice. By 8:15 a.m., while most of the world is just brewing its first coffee, this town has already experienced a full-blown, albeit very silly, military coup. Just as I'm trying to process all of this, a local explains the final, crucial piece of context. Today is December 28th, the day of the Holy Innocents. It's basically Spain's national April Fool's Day.
April Fool, motherfucker.
Except here, the pranks involve firecrackers and industrial quantities of flour. The town is now officially under the control of these flour-dusted madmen.
Food fight!
And I have to wonder, what are their first ridiculous orders going to be? With the town hall secured, the Ampharinats descend into the streets to enforce their glorious regime of new justice. Their first act is to start imposing a series of completely nonsensical laws invented on the spot. I watch as a man is fined for walking in the shade. His crime? Disrespecting the sun.
That's ridiculous.
Another is fined for not having a hat on.
You're really pushing it now.
Then, a third man who is wearing a hat is fined for excessive head coverage. There is no winning. The legal system here is simple. You're fined for breaking a law that didn't exist 5 minutes ago. Your only choices are to pay up or take a face full of flour. One old man, accused of a particularly heinous crime, I think it was walking too slowly, gleefully chooses the flour and is promptly covered head to toe in a white powder by a laughing Ampharinat. The shopkeepers are all targets, fined for things like having too many vegetables or insufficiently enthusiastic greetings. Just as it seems the town has fully succumbed to this benign, dusty dictatorship, a new faction arrives. La Oposicio, aka the Opposition. They march into the square, supposedly to restore order. But one look at them, armed with water hoses and their own bags of flour, and it's clear they're not here for a peaceful negotiation.
I don't want peace. I want problems, always.
They're just here to escalate the chaos. The two sides are now facing off in the main square. The air is thick with tension and increasingly airborne flour. What follows is not a structured fight. It is pure, unadulterated, and very sticky anarchy. The air fills with the deafening, non-stop crackle of thousands of firecrackers. It sounds like a war zone, and frankly, it looks like one too. The Afarinats and the opposition clash in the center of the square, and their weapons are relentless. Cartons of eggs are hurled through the air, smashing against costumes and cobblestones with a sickening thud. The smell is pungent. A strange mix of gunpowder and what I can only describe as thousands of very, very expired eggs. Smoke bombs erupt, filling the air with thick, stinging red smoke that chokes the lungs. Bystanders, journalists, and anyone foolish enough to stand still are considered fair game. I've already narrowly dodged a rogue egg that splattered against a wall behind me, and my jacket is now covered in a fine layer of what I hope is just flour. Then they bring out the heavy artillery, fire extinguishers that have been retrofitted to blast huge plumes of flour, turning the red haze into a ghostly white cloud. The historic plaza is quickly coated in a thick yellow and white paste. The ground becomes a treacherous, slippy mess of eggshells and dough, and I see more than one of the mock soldiers lose their footing and slide through the muck. This isn't a food fight.
No, this is serious.
This is a war. A very poorly organized, utterly glorious, and surprisingly cheerful war. My jacket will never be the same. This battle is pure, baffling anarchy. But as I take cover behind a fountain, I learn that this seemingly silly chaos has a surprisingly deep and rebellious history. As I'm trying to wipe a stray bit of egg from my camera lens, I learn the most fascinating part of this whole story. This isn't just a silly game that's been happening forever. This tradition, over 200 years old, was once considered a dangerous and rebellious act. During the authoritarian regime of Francisco Franco in Spain, which lasted until 1975, individuality and regional traditions were heavily suppressed. Festivals like this, with their chaotic energy and mockery of authority, were banned because the government saw them as a threat to their power.
I'm banning fun.
For decades, there was no coup, no flour, no eggs. The tradition was forced underground, silenced by a real dictatorship that didn't appreciate a fake one. The unmarried men of the town, Els Fadrins, had their own role in the chaos, acting as a rogue artillery unit, creating a constant barrage of noise with firecrackers. But without the main group, their purpose was lost.
No!
An entire generation grew up hearing only stories of this legendary day of madness. But in 1981, after Spain's transition back to democracy, the town of Ibi brought it back. And that changes everything. This isn't just a food fight anymore. It's a powerful act of cultural defiance. It's a celebration of freedom to be completely and utterly absurd, to make fun of power without fear. This silly, messy battle is actually a victory lap for democracy. And that, to me, makes it all the more brilliant. This festival has a surprisingly defiant soul, but it's still hiding one final, even more surprising, secret. Where does all the money from those ridiculous fines actually go? As the afternoon sun begins to set and the battle finally winds down, ammunition is exhausted and so are the participants. A symbolic truce is called and power is officially restored to the real mayor.
Sanity eventually returned.
But this is where we get the final and most bewildering plot twist of all, the fines. The money collected all day from citizens for breaking the absurd laws, it's all gathered together and publicly counted. And every single cent is donated to a local charity. The San Joaquin Nursing Home for the Elderly. The entire day of anarchy, this mock coup, this massive waste of eggs and flour, is a fundraiser.
Doesn't even make sense.
You don't make sense.
It totally does.
They stage a fake coup to raise real money for a nursing home. And suddenly, it's the most heartwarming and chaotic thing I've ever heard. The day ends with a final, strange contrast as the chaos gives way to civility. In the evening, the townspeople, now cleaned up, gather for traditional folk dances. One of them is the Danza dels Tapats, where men and women dance with their faces covered in a final, eerie layer of absurdity to cap off the day. You arrive expecting a simple food fight, and you leave knowing that sometimes the best way to support your community is to throw an egg at it. And if you think a flower-based coup is strange, you haven't seen what they do in India to end a drought. They don't just pray for rain, they arrange a full, traditional marriage between two frogs. Yes, a frog wedding. Subscribe to see if they kiss the bride.